Yuna loved her job. She was a supply officer on Orbital Station Harmony, one of the biggest trading posts in the outer sectors. Every week, ships came from 100 different worlds. They brought food, medicine, tools, and strange things that Yuna had never seen before. But her favorite days were when ships came from Earth. Earth ships always brought something special. Sometimes it was chocolate. Sometimes it was music files. Sometimes it was old books made of real paper. Humans missed their home planet, and these little things made life in space feel less lonely. Today, a cargo ship called the Morning Star had just docked at Bay 7. Yuna walked through the busy corridors with a smile on her face. She had checked the cargo list 3 times already. The Morning Star was carrying medical supplies, water filters, and 15 crates of personal items for the human workers on the station. The station was home to over 10,000 beings. Most of them were not human. There were the tall, blue-skinned Velari with their 4 arms and gentle eyes. There were the small, furry Crothians who loved to climb on everything. There were the stone-like Mordaki, who moved slowly but thought very fast. And there were at least 20 other species, all living together in the cold darkness of space. Yuna reached Bay 7 and pressed her hand against the scanner. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, the cargo ship's crew was already unloading crates onto hover platforms. "Officer Yuna," a voice called out. She turned and saw Captain Dohun walking toward her. He was a tall man with gray hair and a kind face. He had been flying cargo ships for 30 years, and everyone on the station knew him. "Captain Dohun," Yuna said with a bow. "Good to see you again." "Good to see you too," Dohun said. He handed her a datapad with the cargo information. "Everything is on the list. No problems this time." "No problems is good," Yuna said. She began checking the crates one by one. As she worked, she noticed movement near the door. 3 small heads peeked around the corner. They had big purple eyes, soft gray fur, and tiny pointed ears. Yuna smiled. She knew who they were. The Velari called their children cubs. These 3 belonged to Ambassador Kira, one of the senior diplomats on the station. Their names were Tiki, Nolo, and Pim. They were always curious, always exploring, and always getting into places they should not be. "Hello, little ones," Yuna said softly. The cubs squeaked with excitement and ran into the cargo bay. Their small feet made pattering sounds on the metal floor. "Human Yuna," Tiki said. He was the oldest. Maybe 6 years and human counting. "What is in the boxes?" Man. 1. None. 1. He was in the boxes. "Supplies," Yuna said. "Boring things. Medicine and filters." "Nothing fun?" Nolo asked. She was the middle cub, with bigger ears than her brothers. "Well," Yuna said, "some of these boxes have things from Earth. Personal items for the humans who live here." The cubs looked at each other with wide eyes. Earth items were famous on the station. Humans had such strange things. Colorful candies that exploded with flavor. Toys that made sounds and lights. Soft blankets made from something called fleece that aliens loved to touch. "Can we see?" Pim asked. He was the smallest, barely old enough to walk without falling. Yuna looked around. The cargo crew was busy, and there was no harm in showing the cubs a few things. She walked to a crate marked Personal Effects, Sector 4, and opened it. Inside were smaller boxes, each one labeled with a name. Yuna picked one up and opened it. There were pictures of a family, some dried flowers, and sheets of something clear with small bumps all over it. "What is that?" Tiki asked, pointing at the bumpy sheets. Yuna picked one up and looked at it. She had not seen bubble wrap in months. On Earth, people used it to protect fragile things during shipping. The small bubbles were filled with air, and when you pressed them, they popped with a satisfying sound. "This is bubble wrap," Yuna said. "We use it to keep things safe." She pressed one of the bubbles with her finger. Pop! The cubs jumped back in surprise. Then they leaned forward with wonder. "Do it again," Nolo said. Yuna pressed another bubble. Pop! The cubs squeaked with delight. Their purple eyes were huge. They had never heard anything like it. It makes noise, Pim said. The clear thing makes noise. Yes, Yuna said with a laugh. Humans love popping these. It is very relaxing. Her communicator beeped. She looked at the screen and saw an urgent message from Commander Hyun. There was a problem with one of the docking clamps on Bay 3. She needed to go check it right away. I have to go, Yuna said. She put the bubble wrap down on top of the crate. You cubs should go back to your mother. This cargo bay is not a playground. End quote. Well, yes, human Yuna, Tiki said. But his eyes were still on the bubble wrap. Yuna hurried out of the cargo bay. She had to run to reach Bay 3 in time. Behind her, the door slid shut with a soft click. The cubs stood alone in the cargo bay. The workers had moved to the far end, sorting the larger crates. No one was watching the three small aliens. Tiki looked at his brother and sister. Then he looked at the bubble wrap sitting on the crate. It was so close. The strange earth material that made such wonderful sounds. Human Yuna said we should go, Nola whispered. She said we should, Tiki agreed, but she did not say we must. Pim was already climbing onto a smaller crate to reach the bubble wrap. His little hands grabbed the edge of the sheet and pulled it down. It fell on top of him with a soft crinkle. Pop! Pim giggled. He had stepped on one of the bubbles by accident. Tiki and Nolo rushed to help their brother. But when they touched the bubble wrap, more bubbles popped under their hands. Pop! 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 The sound was wonderful. It was like tiny drums. Like little explosions of happiness. The cubs had never felt anything so satisfying. Tiki grabbed another sheet of bubble wrap from the crate. Then another. Soon, all three cubs were surrounded by the clear, bumpy material. They pressed it with their hands. They stepped on it with their feet. They rolled in it and squeezed it. Pop, 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 pop. The cargo bay echoed with the sound. But the cubs did not care. They were having the best time of their young lives. They did not know that on orbital station Harmony, rapid popping sounds meant something very different to the security systems. They did not know that hundreds of sensors were already detecting the noise. They did not know that alarms were about to ring across the entire station. They just kept popping. Commander Hyun was having a quiet day. He sat in the main security office on level 5, watching the screens that showed every corner of orbital station Harmony. Nothing exciting had happened in weeks. A few drunk traders had argued in the market yesterday. Someone had lost a pet creature in the air vents last Tuesday. But mostly, the station was peaceful. Hyun liked peaceful. He was 53 years old and had seen enough excitement in his younger days. He had fought in 2 border conflicts and survived a pirate attack on a colony ship. Now he wanted nothing more than quiet shifts and hot tea. He picked up his cup and took a long sip. The tea was perfect. Just the right temperature. Then the alarm went off. Red lights flashed across every screen. A loud siren filled the room. Hyun almost dropped his tea in surprise. What is happening? He demanded. His second officer, a young Valari named Soren, was already typing on his console. His 4 hands moved so fast they were a blur. Acoustic sensors in Bay 7, Soren said. His voice was tight with fear. They are detecting rapid percussive sounds. The pattern matches small arms fire. Hyun felt his blood turn cold. Gunfire. On his station. He set down his tea and stood up straight. How many shots? He asked. Soren listened to his earpiece. The sensors are counting. Dozens. Maybe hundreds. The shooting is continuous. Continuous fire in a cargo bay, Hyun said. His mind was racing. That means either a massacre or a firefight. Neither is good. He turned to the main communication panel and pressed the station-wide alert button. His voice echoed through every corridor, every room, every shop and home on orbital station Harmony. Attention all personnel. This is Commander Hyun. We are initiating emergency lockdown protocol. All citizens must move to the nearest secure room immediately. Seal all doors. Do not leave until you receive the all-clear signal. This is not a drill. The effect was instant. All across the station, people stopped what they were doing. Shops pulled down their metal shutters. Families ran to their quarters. Workers sealed themselves in storage rooms and offices. The peaceful station became a place of fear in seconds. Down in the medical center, Dr. Minji was treating a Crothian with a broken tail. When the alarm sounded, she dropped her tools and looked at the ceiling. "Gunfire?" she whispered. "That cannot be right." She helped her patient into the secure room behind her office. Her hands were shaking. In 15 years on the station, she had never heard the lockdown alarm. In the market district, a Mordaki merchant named Gruel was selling crystals to a human couple. The alarm made the humans scream. Gruel did not scream. Mordaki did not have mouths that worked that way, but the fear chemicals released from his stone body made the air smell like burning metal. Inside, Gruel rumbled to the humans. Now, they ran into his shop, and he sealed the door with his massive hand. On level 3, Ambassador Kira was in a meeting with 2 diplomats from the outer colonies. When the alarm sounded, she stood up so fast her chair fell over. "My cubs," she said. "Where are my cubs?" The other diplomats looked at her with confusion. But Kira was already running. She was a mother, and her children were somewhere on this station while gunfire echoed through the halls. She tried to reach them on her communicator. No answer. She tried again. Still nothing. "Tiki!" she called into the device. "Nolo! Pim! Answer me!" Only silence came back. Kira ran faster. Her forearms pumped at her sides. Her heart was beating so hard she thought it might break. She had to find her babies. She had to know they were safe. But the corridors were blocked. Emergency doors had slammed shut everywhere. The station was sealed into sections, and Kira could not get through. "Let me pass," she screamed at the door. "My children are out there." The door did not care. It was metal and circuits. It only followed its programming. And right now, its programming said no one moves. Back in the security office, Commander Hyun was organizing his teams. He had 40 officers on duty, and all of them were arming themselves with stun weapons and shields. Team 1, approach Bay 7 from the north corridor. Hyun ordered. Team 2, take the south. Team 3, hold the exits. No one gets in or out until we know what is happening. "Sir," Soren said, "the acoustic sensors are still detecting fire. It has not stopped." Hyun frowned. That was strange. In his experience, firefights did not last this long without breaks. People needed to reload. They needed to take cover. Continuous fire for this many minutes was almost impossible. "Are we sure the sensors are working correctly?" Hyun asked. "All systems show normal function," Soren replied. Hyun picked up his own weapon. It was a heavy stun rifle that could knock down a charging Mordaki. He had not used it in years, but his hands remembered how it felt. "I am going with Team 1, he said. "Keep monitoring from here. If anything changes, tell me immediately." "Be careful, Commander," Soren said. Hyun nodded and walked out of the office. In the corridor, his officers were waiting. They were all species mixed together. Humans, Velari, Crothians, and even one Mordaki, who could barely fit his stun rifle in his huge hands. But they were all scared. Hyun could see it in their eyes. "Listen to me," Hyun said. "We do not know what is in that cargo bay. It could be pirates. It could be terrorists. It could be something we have never seen before. But whatever it is, we handle it together. We protect this station and everyone on it. Understood?" "Understood, Commander," the officer said as one. They moved through the sealed corridors. Emergency lights painted everything red. The normal sounds of the station were gone. No chatter. No music. No footsteps. Just the distant pop, pop, pop of what they believed was gunfire. "It sounds different," one of the human officers said. Her name was Bora, and she was one of Hyun's best shooters. "Different how?" Hyun asked. "I have heard guns before," Bora said. "That sound. It is too high, too light. Guns have more weight to them. Hyun listened. She was right. The popping was sharp and quick, not deep and heavy like real weapons. But the sensors said it was gunfire. And sensors did not lie. Did they? They reached the corridor outside Bay 7. The sound was very loud now. Pop, 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 pop without stopping. It was coming from behind the cargo bay doors. Hyun raised his hand. His team stopped and got into position. They pressed their backs against the walls and pointed their weapons at the door. On my signal, Hyun whispered. We breach and secure. Stun everything that moves. His heart was pounding. Whatever was behind that door, he was about to find out. He counted down in his head. 3, 2, 1, go. The doors slid open, and the team rushed inside with weapons ready. What they found was not what they expected at all. Yuna was running as fast as her legs could carry her. The red emergency lights made everything look like a nightmare. The alarm sirens hurt her ears, and somewhere in her gut, she knew exactly what had happened. The bubble wrap. The cubs. Oh no. She had been at Bay 3 when the lockdown started. The docking clamp problem turned out to be a simple computer error. Nothing serious. But then the alarms went off, and Commander Hyun's voice echoed through the station. Small arms fire, he had said. Bay 7. Siya, 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 Bay 7. Where she had left 3 curious alien cubs alone with sheets of bubble wrap. Yuna wanted to scream. She wanted to laugh. She wanted to cry. This was her fault. She had shown them the bubble wrap. She had popped it in front of them. She had left it right there, where their little hands could reach it. And now the entire station thought someone was shooting guns. She tried to contact Commander Hyun, but the communication channels were jammed with emergency traffic. Everyone was trying to talk at once. Officers were reporting positions. Citizens were begging for information. The system could not handle it all. Come on, Yuna muttered. She kept trying to get through. The corridors were sealed. Every few hundred meters, a heavy door blocked her path. She had to use her security codes to open each one. Swipe, wait. Swipe, wait. It was taking too long. Emergency override, she said to the door panel. Supply Officer Yuna, code 77 Blue 9. The panel beeped. Override denied. Security lockdown in effect. I need to get through, Yuna shouted at the machine. This is a mistake. There is no attack. Please remain in a secure location, the panel said calmly. Wait for the all-clear signal. Yuna slammed her fist against the wall. She was trapped 3 corridors away from Bay 7. She could hear the popping sound from here, echoing through the metal station like distant drums. Pop, 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 pop. It did sound like gunfire. She had to admit that. If you had never heard bubble wrap before, if you had grown up on a planet where such things did not exist, you would think someone was firing a weapon. She understood now why the aliens were so scared. To them, this was war. Yuna sat down against the wall and thought, there had to be another way. She pulled up the station map on her communicator and studied it carefully. The main corridors were all sealed, but there were other paths, maintenance tunnels, service ducts, ways that only station workers knew about. She found one, a small access hatch 2 corridors back that led into the ventilation system. From there, she could crawl to the cargo bay level and drop down near Bay 7. It was a tight fit. Yuna was not a large woman, but the vents were made for cleaning robots, not people. She squeezed through the hatch and started crawling. The metal was cold under her hands and knees. The darkness was thick around her. I am going to kill those cubs, she muttered. I am going to hug them and then kill them. She crawled for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes. The popping sound got louder. She could hear other sounds now too. Squeaking. Giggling. The cubs were having fun in there. They had no idea what they had caused. They were just playing, just being children. Yuna reached a vent cover and looked through the metal bars. Below her, she could see the cargo bay. Crates were stacked everywhere. Workers had run away when the alarm sounded, leaving everything in the middle of sorting. And there, in the center of the bay, were Tiki, Nolo, and Pim. They were covered in bubble wrap. Sheets of it hung from their ears. Strips of it wrapped around their arms and legs. They were jumping up and down on a huge pile of it, making it pop like crazy. Pop, 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 pop. The cubs were laughing so hard they could barely breathe. They had never had this much fun in their entire lives. More! More! Pim shouted. He threw himself onto a fresh sheet and rolled around. This is the best human thing ever, Nolo said. She was pressing bubbles with all 4 of her hands at once. Tiki was trying to pop an entire sheet with one big jump. He leaped into the air and came down with both feet. The pop was so loud it echoed off the walls. Yes, Tiki cheered. I am the bubble champion. Yuna did not know whether to cry or laugh. These innocent little aliens had shut down an entire space station because they discovered packing material. She was about to kick open the vent cover and climb down when she heard something. Voices. Footsteps. The sound of heavy boots on metal floors. The security team was here. Everyone freeze! Commander Hyun's voice boomed through the cargo bay. Yuna watched through the vent as armed officers poured into the room. They had shields up and weapons ready. They looked prepared to fight a war. The cubs stopped playing. Their purple eyes went wide with fear. They had never seen so many adults with weapons before. Cubs? Commander Hyun said. His voice was filled with confusion. It is just. Cubs? Little Pim started to cry. The big scary adults with their guns had ruined everything. He did not understand what was happening. He just wanted to keep playing with the wonderful popping material. Tiki stepped in front of his brother and sister. Even though he was shaking with fear, he tried to protect them. He held up his small hands. Please do not hurt us, he said. His voice was barely a whisper. We were just playing. Hyun lowered his weapon. Around him, his officers were looking at each other in confusion. They had expected terrorists. They had expected pirates. They had expected a bloody battle. Instead, they found 3 children surrounded by bubble wrap. What is this material? Hyun asked. He picked up a sheet of bubble wrap and looked at it. His finger pressed against a bubble. Pop! He jumped back like he had been shocked. A few officers raised their weapons again. It makes that sound, Hyun said slowly. This clear sheet makes that sound. Yuna knew this was her moment. She kicked open the vent cover and dropped down into the cargo bay. Every weapon in the room turned toward her. Wait, she shouted, holding up her hands. Do not shoot. I can explain. Supply Officer Yuna, Hyun said. What are you doing in the vents? Commander, this is all a misunderstanding, Yuna said. She walked toward him carefully. That sound your sensors detected was not gunfire. It was this. She picked up a sheet of bubble wrap and began popping it quickly. Pop, 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 pop. Hyun's eyes went wide. That is bubble wrap, Yuna said. It is a human packing material. We use it to protect fragile items. The cubs found it and started playing. They did not know it would cause all this. Silence fell over the cargo bay. Every officer was staring at the clear material in Yuna's hands. 3 scared cubs were huddled together, covered in the stuff. Commander Hyun looked at his weapon. He looked at his team. He looked at the bubble wrap. Then he started to laugh. Commander Hyun could not stop laughing. It started as a small chuckle, but soon it became a deep, rolling laugh that shook his whole body. His officers stared at him like he had lost his mind. Commander? Soren's voice came through his earpiece. Is everything okay? We heard laughter. Are you injured? Hyun pressed his communicator. I am fine. Soren. Better than fine. Cancel the lockdown. Cancel it? But the gunfire. There was no gunfire, Hyun said. He held up a sheet of bubble wrap to the nearest camera so Soren could see. We locked down the entire station because some cubs found human packing material. There was a long pause. Then Soren's voice came back, very quiet. Did you say packing material? Bubble wrap, Yuna said loudly. It is called bubble wrap. Humans use it to keep things safe during shipping. Another pause. And it makes that sound? Yuna popped a few more bubbles into the communicator. Pop, pop, pop. Oh. Soren said. Oh no. Oh. Oh yes, Hyun replied. He wiped tears of laughter from his eyes. Send out the all clear. Tell everyone we made a mistake. A very, very funny mistake. The all clear signal went out across orbital station Harmony. The red lights stopped flashing. The sirens went quiet. Heavy doors slid open, and 10,000 beings slowly came out of hiding, confused and scared, and wanting answers. In the cargo bay, the cubs were still huddled together. They did not understand why the scary adults were laughing. They thought they were in terrible trouble. Yuna knelt down in front of them. It is okay, she said softly. You are not in trouble. Well, not much trouble. Your mother is going to be upset that you were playing where you should not be. But the bubble wrap thing? That is not your fault. We did something bad? Tiki asked. His voice was shaking. No, little one, Yuna said. You did something new. The station just was not ready for it. The cargo bay doors burst open again. Ambassador Kira ran in, her forearms reaching out for her children. My babies, she cried. My sweet cubs. She scooped up all three of them at once, holding them tight against her chest. Her eyes were wet with tears. For the past 30 minutes, she had thought her children were in danger. She had imagined the worst. And now here they were, safe and covered in strange human material. Mama, Pim said, we found the best thing. It goes pop. Kira looked at the bubble wrap clinging to her son's fur. She had no idea what it was. But if it had caused this much chaos, she was not sure she wanted to know. We will talk about this later, she said firmly. She looked at Commander Hyun. I am so sorry. My cubs should not have been in here alone. I take full responsibility. Hyun shook his head. Ambassador, your cubs did nothing wrong. They were just playing. We are the ones who panicked. He looked around the cargo bay at his armed officers. They all looked a little embarrassed now. 40 trained security personnel had rushed in, ready for war. And they had found 3 children having fun. This is going to be a story, one of the human officers said. Bora was smiling now. The day we almost went to war with packing material. Bora. The 70 Bora. Bora. Bora was smiling now. Please do not tell anyone, another officer said. He was young and new to the station. My family will never let me hear the end of it. Oh, everyone is going to hear about this, Hyun said. There is no hiding it now. We will just have to accept it. Word spread fast. Within an hour, everyone on orbital station Harmony knew what had happened. The reactions were mixed. Some people were angry that they had been scared for nothing. Some people were relieved that no one was hurt. And many, many people thought it was the funniest thing they had ever heard. In the market district, Gruel the Mordaki merchant opened his shop again. The human couple he had protected was still inside, looking shaken. It is safe now, Gruel said. The emergency is over. What happened? The woman asked. Gruel made a sound like grinding rocks. For a Mordaki, this was laughter. Apparently, human packing supplies are very dangerous. They make sounds like weapons. The humans looked at each other. Bubble wrap? The man said. You shut down a space station because of bubble wrap? I did not shut down anything, Gruel rumbled. I just sell crystals. But yes, your species bubble wrap nearly started a war today. The news kept spreading. By evening, every being on the station was talking about it. The bubble wrap incident became the biggest story of the year. It was on every data feed, every message board, every communication channel. And people were not just talking. They were asking questions. What is this bubble wrap? The Crothians wanted to know. Why does it make such wonderful sounds? Can we have some? Is it safe? The Valari asked. It scared our children. But also, our children seem to love it. Where can we get more? Even the serious Mordaki were curious. This material provides protection and entertainment at the same time? How efficient? We would like to study it. Yuna found herself answering the same questions over and over. Yes. Bubble wrap was safe. No. It was not a weapon. Yes. Humans had been using it for centuries. No. It was not expensive. Yes. It really was that fun to pop. The humans on the station thought it was hilarious. They started giving out small pieces of bubble wrap to anyone who wanted to try it. Soon, the sound of popping could be heard in corridors and shops and homes all across Harmony. Pop, 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 pop. It was everywhere. Beings of all species were discovering the simple joy of pressing those little air bubbles. A Crothian would pop one and squeal with delight. A Valari would pop three with their multiple hands and smile. Even the slow-moving Mordaki would carefully press a bubble and listen to the small sound with great interest. Commander Hyun watched it all from his security office. The screens that had shown emergency alerts now showed something very different. Citizens walking around with bubble wrap. Cubs playing with it in the parks. Shop owners selling pieces of it like precious goods. We should update our acoustic sensors, Soren said. So this does not happen again. Yes, Hyun agreed. Add bubble wrap to the list of known sounds. Mark it as harmless. Harmless but addictive, Soren said. He was holding a small piece of bubble wrap himself, slowly pressing the bubbles one by one. Pop, pop, pop. Hyun smiled and took a piece for himself. Very addictive, he agreed. Far across the galaxy, the story was just beginning to spread. Ships leaving orbital station Harmony carried the tale with them. Traders told it in ports. Travelers told it in stations. Within weeks, half the sector knew about the day a human space station went into lockdown because of bubble wrap, and everyone, everywhere, wanted to try it for themselves. 6 months had passed since the incident. Yuna stood in Bay 7, the same cargo bay where everything had started. But things looked very different now. Instead of random supply crates, the bay was filled with neat rows of boxes, all marked with the same label. Official Earth. Bubble wrap. Handle with joy. There were thousands of them, more than Yuna had ever seen in one place. Another shipment, Captain Dohun said. He walked up beside her with a smile on his weathered face. The 5th one this month. Can you believe it? Yuna said. 6 months ago, no alien had ever heard of bubble wrap. Now we cannot ship enough of it. Dohun laughed. My cargo hold used to carry medicine and machine parts. Now half of it is packing material. The galaxy has gone crazy for this stuff. He was not wrong. The bubble wrap incident on orbital station Harmony had changed everything. What started as a funny story had become something much bigger. Aliens across dozens of systems had discovered the simple pleasure of popping air bubbles. And they could not get enough. The Valari made it part of their children's playtime. Every cub in their society now had their own sheets of bubble wrap. Parents found that it calmed their young ones down and helped them focus. Valari doctors started using it as therapy for stress and anxiety. The Crothians went even further. They built special climbing structures covered in bubble wrap so they could pop bubbles while climbing. The sound of a Crothian playground was now a constant pop 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 that echoed through their cities. The Mordaki, always practical, found industrial uses for it. They wrapped their fragile crystal tools in bubble wrap, just like humans did, but they also discovered that the popping helped their young ones develop fine motor control. Mordaki children practiced pressing individual bubbles with their massive fingers, and it did not stop there. Species that Yuna had never heard of were placing orders. The Zentari of the inner systems, the Koloth from the mining colonies. Even the mysterious wanderers, who rarely traded with anyone, had requested samples. Earth's factories were running at full capacity. Bubble wrap production had increased by 3,000%. It was now one of humanity's biggest exports, right up there with entertainment media and coffee. Who would have thought? Yuna said softly. Packing material. We became famous for packing material. Not just famous, Dohun said. Rich. The export fees alone are funding new colony ships. Humanity is building a future on popping sounds. The cargo bay doors opened, and a familiar group walked in. Ambassador Kira and her 3 cubs approached Yuna with warm smiles. "Human Yuna," Pim shouted. He ran forward and hugged her leg. He had grown in the past months, but he was still small and full of energy. "Hello, little one," Yuna said. She patted his fuzzy head. "Have you been staying out of cargo bays?" "Mostly," Pim admitted. Tiki and Nolo came up behind him. They were both taller now, and more confident. The incident had made them famous among Villari children. They were the cubs who had discovered bubble wrap. They were heroes. "Yuna," Kira said, "I wanted to thank you again. What you showed my children that day. It has brought so much happiness to so many beings. I just showed them some packing material," Yuna said. "They did the rest." "You gave us a gift?" Kira said seriously. "You shared something from your world, and it connected us. That is what humans do best. You share. You open doors. You bring species together." Yuna felt her face grow warm. She had never thought about it that way. To her, bubble wrap was just bubble wrap, but to aliens who had never experienced it, it was something wonderful and new. Commander Hyun walked into the cargo bay. He looked different these days, more relaxed. The stress lines on his face had faded. Running a space station was easier when everyone was happy. "Supply Officer Yuna," he said with a nod. "Ambassador Kira, I see the new shipment has arrived." "More bubble wrap than we can store," Yuna said. "We might need to expand the cargo bays." "Already approved," Hyun said. "The Galactic Council wants to make Harmony the official distribution center for human bubble wrap. They are calling it a cultural treasure of galactic importance." Yuna laughed. "A cultural treasure. My grandmother used it to wrap dishes when she moved apartments. And now it brings joy to billions," Hyun said. "Funny how things work out." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small sheet of bubble wrap. Without thinking, he started popping the bubbles one by one. Pop. 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 It had become a habit for him, like others might tap their fingers or hum a song. "I used to think humans were strange," he admitted. "Your species has so many odd customs. You eat spicy food that causes pain. You watch sad movies to cry on purpose. You keep animals in your homes and call them family. But this bubble wrap addiction? I think I finally understand." "Understand what?" Yuna asked. "Why humans are happy?" Hyun said. "You find joy in small things. A warm drink. A soft blanket. A piece of packing material that makes a popping sound. You do not need great victories or mighty achievements. You find pleasure in the simple moments." He popped another bubble. "Pop. The galaxy could learn from that," he said. The cubs were already opening one of the new boxes. They pulled out fresh sheets of bubble wrap and started spreading them on the floor. Other station workers gathered around to watch. Soon, everyone was joining in. Pop, 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 pop. The sound filled the cargo bay. Humans and aliens together, pressing bubbles and laughing. No one cared about species or rank or politics. They were all just enjoying a simple pleasure. Yuna watched it all with a smile. 6 months ago, she had caused a station-wide lockdown by accident. She had been sure she would lose her job, maybe even face criminal charges. Instead, she had started a galactic movement. "You know," she said to Captain Do-hun, "when I was a little girl on Earth, my mother used to save bubble wrap from packages. She said popping it was the best part of getting deliveries." "Smart woman," Do-hun said. "She would have loved to see this," Yuna said. "Her whole life, she never left Earth. She never imagined that humans would spread across the stars. But if I could tell her one thing from the future, I think I would tell her this." "What is that?" Yuna picked up a sheet of bubble wrap and pressed a bubble. "Pop. I would tell her that the whole galaxy loves popping bubble wrap now," Yuna said. "And it is all because of people like her, who knew that happiness can be found in the smallest things." Do-hun nodded. "That is a good message." They stood together and watched the cargo bay fill with joy. Cubs rolled in bubble wrap. Officers forgot their duties and joined the fun. Ambassador Kira was teaching her children how to pop in rhythm, making music out of the sounds. Pop, 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 pop. It was, Yuna thought, the best sound in the galaxy. And somewhere far away, on 100 different worlds, beings were discovering that sound for the first time. They were pressing their first bubble, hearing their first pop, and smiling with pure delight. Humanity had given the galaxy many things: technology, medicine, art, science. But nothing had spread faster than bubble wrap, and nothing had brought more happiness.